Lawyers. What's a law that isn't real, that normal people insist exists? In the UK, people often claim that if an item is listed for sale in a shop, then the shop legally has to sell it to you at that price. This is not true at all, as the shop doesn't have underscore to sell you anything at any price. Often as a gesture of goodwill, shops will honor erroneous prices, but they are under absolutely no obligation to do so. Back when I had a goldfish, RIP Carol, I went to Pets at Home to buy him a bigger tank. It rang through at £0. 00. Checkout girl raises an eyebrow. We share a laugh. She messes about with the system a bit more, but all she gets is £0. 00. So she calls her supervisor. We wait a few minutes. A few more. The queue is building behind me. Eventually she shrugs, prints a receipt for £0. 00 and sends me on my way with my free fish tank. Good day for me and Carol. Edit. So glad my most upvoted post is one about my old fishy friend. Also thanks for the little blobby guild thing. I was at a TJ Maximum, or similar, once and found a bunch of jars of orange honey, clover honey, and the like for $1 a pop. Absolute steal. So I grabbed one and take it up front. It rang up for $1,000. The cashier and I gawked at it, laughed, and she said something must have been entered wrong in the system. She punched in $1 and then only asked that I not abuse their return system. Probate attorney here. I've heard many people ask me when the reading of the will is going to take place. I explain to them that only happens in movies. But one of these days I'm going to have one and hire a mysterious blonde wearing a veil to sit in the corner quietly. Then I'll tell everyone that she inherits everything, provided, of course, that she must adopt the decedent's cute but troublemaking 6-year-old child no one knew about, or she can spend the night in a haunted house. Her choice. There will now be a requirement for such a mysterious lady's presence at the reading of my will, written into my will, along with a handful of burly yet solemn fellows, dressed in stereotypical G-man attire, complete with sunglasses and earpieces. One will be Russian, or at least able to fake the accent consistently, and should only be curtly acknowledged by the others. Every one of them should be entirely vague about how they knew me except from business, and the men should all refuse to acknowledge the presence of the veiled woman, and feign terror if compelled to look at her. My friends and I have an agreement that, if one of us dies, the others hire a good-looking woman in a long black coat and large sunglasses to stand slightly away from everyone at the funeral crying underneath an umbrella, or parasol if it's not raining. I'll do it. And I'll throw in long red fingernails at no additional cost. If you can make your sob sound vaguely Russian, then you're hired. That commercial use of a photograph means selling the photograph. Commercial use means that there is an implied endorsement. You can take and sell photos of Eric Clapton all day long. Put that same photo in an advertisement for a certain guitar without a release and you can be used. There is a big problem now with that on YouTube and Bitcoin. My father, who is a lawyer, policemen cannot lie to you. This is false. They can and they do. Edit. There's so many replies that I cannot even find some of the ones I'd like to respond to, so I want to leave a general note for those who have asked for a reference. Frazier vs Cup is the Supreme Court ruling that affirmed the legality of deceptive interrogation tactics in 1969. The ruling is still active. I heard you were smuggling animals. What are you? A cop? People that think it's illegal to be videotaped in a public space. I saw someone on Nextdoor complaining about my reasonable right to privacy in a public place, when someone was shaming 20 people standing together waiting for takeout. Sorry, that's the opposite of how it works. If big time celebrities can't stop paparazzi from following them and their family 24/7, I have no clue why ordinary people believe that they have the right not to be caught on camera in public. I'm honestly surprised that more celebrities don't hire people to follow the paparazzi themselves around and make their life as annoying as possible. Things like standing in front of their shots or following them to the doctor's office and then demanding to know why they were there. I'd 100% watch a TV show where especially obnoxious paparazzi were followed around for months and harassed in the same way they harass others. I second this. Start a show called How Do You Like It? Take people on FB, Reddit, Twitter, and put them through whatever awful take they are espousing or doing. Sovereign citizen stuff. I feel like enough folks have claimed to be sovereign citizens that it's become normal. But no. Generally you can't declare yourself exempt from the laws in effect where you are. My first job while in school was as a law clerk was to respond to pro se writs of habeas corpus from prisoners. One of the first ones I was given was to respond to a guy that claimed he was falsely imprisoned because he had sovereign immunity. He had changed his name to Jesus Christ and claimed that because he was the sovereign, he was not subject to our laws anymore and needed to be released. I remember being very flummoxed on how to respond. I spent entirely too much time on that reply. This feels like the kind of thing they would hand to someone as a prank/hazing. Oh loony Jesus is locked up again. Let's give that one to the new clerk to break him/her in. Apostrophe. An arrest isn't magically invalidated if the police don't read you your rights on the spot. There could be a whole thread of just misconceptions people have from watching cop TV. Miranda rights protect you from self-incrimination when being questioned by the police for a crime. It doesn't mean they have to Miranda you the second you get arrested. If you aren't questioned then it doesn't apply. People also think it's illegal not to let them make a phone call after being arrested. Came here to mention the one phone call misconception. They don't have to let you call anyone, as long as they give you reasonable access to a lawyer. That's why I love In the Dark Knight when the Joker says I want my phone call, and the cop ignores him. Because that's exactly what they would do. In California, it's not illegal to discuss your wages with your coworkers, despite what your boss might say. Edit, I'm a lawyer in California. I assume it's the same in the other 49 states, but don't want to speculate. It's actually illegal nationally for a company to retaliate for discussing wages. They typically just make up some other bullshit reason to fire you instead. Make up some other bullshit reason to fire you for no reason at all, as California is an at-will employment state. As a former lawyer, UK, I lost count of the amount of people that thought jaywalking was a crime. Unless it's a road that specifically states no pedestrians or a motorway, no such offense exists here. Edit, to clarify I'm talking about it not being a crime in the UK. It may well be elsewhere, Australia, USA, Germany and others. Too much American media. It technically is a crime in America, so people think it applies in other places. It's a law that exists, but widely misunderstood, is the concept of entrapment. If the police put a bait vehicle in a high crime area, that is not entrapment. If the police are watching a bar known to overserve to see if there are impaired drivers at the end of the night, that is not entrapment. Entrapment only occurs when a gov agent suggests committing a crime that you were not otherwise going to commit. The case that really set the court precedent for this was Wild. FBI agents were badgering this farmer to buy porn for months, and finally he was like sure, whatever. Wham. Jail time. I believe it was cleared. But damn. Was that dirty? Edit. So, here, https n.m. Wikipedia. org/wiki/Jacobson_v. United_States is the Wikipedia article on it. So the US Postal Service began a sting operation to catch people for trying to buy child pornography in 1985. I thought it was just normal porn, and when all porn was illegal, I was mistaken. They set the sting on him 3 times, and only in the 3rd time did he actually try to buy a magazine of porn of 11 to 14-year-olds. It was determined that this constituted entrapment, and was something of a landmark case, because they ruled in his favor. Don't forget where the undercover befriended a mentally handicapped kid and eventually forced him to buy weed for her, then arrested him. That's still the most pissed off I've ever been after an episode of This American Life. I like the kid in question had a massive crush on the girl, who turned out to be an undercover, and she leveraged that to get him to buy weed for her, then have him arrested. Edit found the episode of This American Life, https://www. thisamericanlife.org/457/ what I did for love. The story in question is Act 2 Edit 2. The kid wasn't actually mentally handicapped. He was a regular kid who just got play big time. Edit 3. The plot thickens. Apparently there was another kid who was mentally handicapped who had a similar thing happen to them. Edit 4. I'll give $100 to the 1,000th person to tell me Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote a musical about this. Keep those replies about it coming in. You might be tonight's lucky winner. In the UK, that it is illegal to drink under the age of 18. You can buy alcohol with a meal at 16. Beer, wine. See idea, and you are not breaking any laws if you give your child some alcohol in the privacy of your own home, and they are over the age of 5. Edit. At 16 you have to be accompanied by an adult, and it is paid for by the adult. Thanks you /Kellisk. You can buy alcohol with a meal, but do restaurants have a final say as to whether or not they'll serve it? Yes. The restaurant chain I used to work at wouldn't sell alcohol to anyone under 18. Even if it was just one beer to have with a meal. Probably a good policy tbh. Used to hate it when a bunch of 18-year-olds would hire out my place's function room for a birthday party. Utter carnage.